So good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. The webinar is about the measures that you have to comply with the EU regulation following the amendment of the EU Regulation 1025 that we all certainly know. So before we go ahead, I would like to remind you that you're all muted, so you're not able to speak out loud and raise your questions, but you have the Q&A panel to enter your questions. The speakers will not take their time today to answer the questions during the webinar because we will focus on the content, but please feel free to enter your questions so that we can make them available via the report afterwards. So your questions will be replied anyway. So if we can go to the next slide, Alberto, please. Alberto? Yes, so my name is Els, that you probably all know, and I will be moderating the webinar in the background. And on the next slide, there is what I've just said, the fact that you're muted and that you can use the Q&A panel should you have questions. So without further ado, I think we can jump right away into the agenda of today. Elena, I think the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Els, and good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to have you online. It would be even better to be able to meet you face to face. And I do hope that when you pass by the CEN-CENELEC Meeting Center, we can greet one another. Today, it's a very important day because we actually managed to adapt the CEN and CENELEC rules in order to be ready for the amendment to Regulation 1025. In the agenda, what we try to do is to give a sense of the context. This will be myself. We also have with us the CEN Vice President Technical, who has been really instrumental in leading all the discussions in the CEN and CENELEC technical boards in order to make this happen and to make it happening timely, because this was extremely important for CEN and CENELEC. And of course, we have also Alberto and Elsa that will be supporting us in the different chapters, and Elsa, as she said, in the background. So first the context, then the motivation for the modifications in the rules to adapt to Regulation 2022-2480, and then a deep dive on the rules and some conclusions and key takeaways, including the time frame. So if we can move to the next slide. Okay, I have already presented, but Annika Andreasen, our CEN Vice President Technical, as I said, extremely important person in leading these discussions. So of course, he's also chairing the CEN Technical Board and part of the Presidential Committee of the Board of CEN and CEN and CENELEC. And we have Alberto Simeoni, I suppose that is very well known to all of you, account manager and managing the technical boards of CEN and CENELEC. And then myself, I have already introduced, and I hope you all know me. And if not, as I said, please always when you come to Brussels, come and say hello. So let's move to the European standardization strategy and the role of the standards in Europe. I would like to start first by referring to the CEN and CENELEC Strategy 2030. You see that on my background, which I always use because we should not forget that we, CEN and CENELEC, as independent non-profit making organizations, yet recognized by European legislation, we developed our Strategy 2030, and that was published in November 2020. So that was a key milestone where we have 5 strategic goals. I think the good news is that our Strategy 2030 or the European standardization strategy is pretty aligned with the CEN and CENELEC Strategy 2030 and the goals. So when the European standardization strategy was issued, and to which we had actually contributed, we were pretty ready for the different, for the 5 chapters that were also, or pillars, as the Commission normally calls them, were included in the strategy. We felt it was an important strategy because it has really got the European standardization to a higher level, to a more strategic level. And you, as those that make standardization happen in Europe, I think can see the increasing strategic value of the standards. But sometimes this value is not that recognized, and the European standardization strategy really emphasized the strategic role of standards, mainly for the single market. And this year we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of the single market. Next week the CEN and CENELEC community is heading to Belgrade, where we will have a panel on the single market anniversary. And of course, all the benefits that we already know, like the reduction of red tape, hence reduction of compliance costs, and also the support for SMEs in addressing commercial transactions when they are requested to comply with the standards. There is also a very fast support to the dissemination of innovation. You know that when an innovation is reflected in a European standard, the outreach and the dissemination is much faster and wider. And above all, it's a fair level playing field, not only in Europe, but also to be able to foster a fair level playing field at the international level in the global market, where we can have comparability and equitability in the different quality, sustainability, safety, and security requirements for products and services. So this is clearly highlighted in the European standardization strategy. And today we are not going to speak about that. However, it's extremely connected. The European standardization strategy came also with, it was a package, as if you have managed to go through it. And in this package, we have the Commission communication with these 5 pillars, addressing some elements that they wanted to emphasize, like also the international partnerships, the education about the standardization, the innovation and the cutting edge innovation, and governance of the European standardization system. What we felt it was also very interesting is that there is a strong emphasis on the public-private partnership and the strategic alignment. So again, this will not be part of the discussions today, but the European standardization strategy built on some exercises that we are doing between the European standards bodies and the European Commission in order to connect the bottom-up, so all the woodwork that you are doing, that the standardizers are doing, with the policy initiative, so that we can have a convergent approach. And this was the establishment of the high-level forum, where the idea is really to make sure that we have a good exchange of priorities, and that we try to align those priorities, putting the energy where we need to put the energy, because resources are scarce. So for the high-level forum, CEN and CENELEC are represented by the CEN and CENELEC presidents. The vice president's policy of CEN and CENELEC are the alternates in the high-level forum. And we have got 3 Sherpas in CEN and CENELEC supporting the presidents and connecting with the technical boards. And I think this is extremely important, because what we don't want is to duplicate, to overlap, or to have divergent positions in establishing the priorities. So for CEN and CENELEC, what is of utmost importance is that you technical committees are well connected through the technical board in the establishment of these priorities, and on the bottom-up approach that then we would like to bring to the discussions in the high-level forum. I would like to mention a little bit about the Excellence Hub. This is not really something directly related to partners, to us, because it is an initiative that has been groomed in the European Commission, but we really welcome, because the idea is to have consistency amongst all the different policies and all the different civil servants that are working with European standardization. You know that one of the big challenges that we have today is that different directorates general, different legal initiatives are addressing standardization in a different manner. And we have been asking for consistency for a long time. And the Excellence Hub, what tries to do is to establish this coordination at European Commission level with, I understand, more than 3,000 civil servants connected in one way or another with European standardization. And for that, the Commission has appointed the Chief Standardization Officer, Marie Rute, who actually is going to come also to the CEN and CENELEC annual meeting next week, and with whom we have put in CEN and CENELEC a very close contact and dialogue. There is also the dimension on the globalization through standardization. Again, this is very well connected with the CEN and CENELEC Strategy 2030. And the idea is that first, we need to identify priorities for Europe. You know that there is a big ambition at policy level to remanufacture, to bring manufacturing back to Europe. Standards have got a very important role. You know also about, we're all suffering the energy crisis. I think that for energy intense industries, this is being extremely painful. And with all the initiatives taken to for renewables and for strengthened security of energy in Europe, standards are also extremely important, together with all the digital economy, of course, artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. And there we really need to make sure that CEN and CENELEC experts and the European standards bodies that are members of ISO and IEC coordinate those initiatives. And we managed to influence the international standards developments in ISO and IEC, so that there is no technical barriers to trade created, and at the same time there is a response to the European needs. And then we come into the amendment to the regulation that actually this was part of the package. It was an annex to the European standardization strategy, where there was this revision of regulation 1025, where in fact what this revision intends to do is to say, okay, the national members of CEN and CENELEC, the national standards body in Europe, are those that have got an obligation by European law to adopt the European standards. Hence, they should have a privileged position in the decision of approving those standards. We in CEN and CENELEC, we fully understand the importance of having all stakeholders involved. And also those national standards bodies and national committees that are not part of this geopolitical dimension, because our membership goes beyond the European Union. And hence, the technical boards under the leadership of Annika have been working on an approach that we continue respecting the voice of all the members, but of course will help us to comply with our regulatory requirements and to keep our recognition under the regulation, under the amendment to the regulation. Just a couple of additional elements of the standardization strategy. One is the focus on the twin transition, and we in CEN and CENELEC, we have actually made a proposal for an architecture to connect the green and the digital standards. And again, this could be subject to another webinar, but that project proposal is going well, and you will be hearing from us. And then also there are some initiatives to connect with other regions of the world. And currently in the standardization strategy, Africa is mentioned as one of the markets that are interesting to better explored through the European standardization system. And currently in CEN and CENELEC, we are developing a proposal in somehow frame to the International Trade Center, IPC, and UNIDO, but always under the roof of the European Commission and the international partnership to see how we can connect the European quality infrastructure with the African Union market, change best practices, and be able to address beneficiaries' needs, and that can also ensure the reduction of technical barriers to trade while sharing the experience of regional standards bodies. So in a nutshell, these are some of the key elements. Of course, the European standardization strategy goes beyond that. So what I normally say these days is, what are the challenges for CEN and CENELEC? And I say the challenges for CEN and CENELEC are really to fulfill expectations, because there are very, very high expectations from the European standardization system, but we are what we are. You have the capacity and the expertise that you have. I am extremely grateful to all the technical experts and the chairs and secretaries of the technical committees, because actually you are the engine of the European standardization system. And what we see is that the economy is going through a shift, and it's extremely important to strengthen the competitiveness. So supply value chain disruptions, but also to make sure that there is a fair competition. And we have a role. I mean, it is not really the only one. It needs to complement other initiatives, and I think there are a lot of policy initiatives in that direction. But we all have a role here, and it is important that we understand that role and that we work together in the same direction. So, and that's why also in CEN and CENELEC we are working on this specific role together with you, not only considering the current situation, but also what is coming in the future. And there we are making a very good progress on everything related to online standard development and smart. And I do hope that in the future we are able to share with you new ways of working that are not too disruptive, so that we can also bring you along those new ways of working and new solutions that can be used in the digital economy, of course, supporting the green transition too. But they are beautiful projects that we are developing, and that I'm sure that are going to bring a lot of benefits for the standards users and for the standards makers. And then, of course, we have the challenge of a robust and future-proof system. So I don't need to remind you that the way CEN and CENELEC is financed, and it is extremely important that we keep the robustness, and we are able to ensure the sustainability, not only sustainability from the financial point of view, but also the sustainability from the expert-based point of view, because there is a lot of new areas of activity where we need new experts to join our technical committees, where there is transversal activities, and the wider the participation, the wider the market acceptance. And then we can move to the next. Now we go to the meat of the webinar today. And after, I mean, this amendment to the regulation 1025, which is now the regulation 2022-2480, actually was approved in co-decision by the Council and the Parliament in a record time frame, because I think it took no more than 1 year, or even less than 1 year, with a hectic activity. So the first thing I would like to emphasize is that everybody is, all those that are contributing to the European standardization system, continue to be welcome in their contribution in the European standardization system. And I think that has been a very important part or improvement in the original text of the regulation. It says, without prejudice to other advisory opinions, which means that the opinions are welcome, and the opinions will for sure be taken into account in the development process. However, the decisions concerning European standards and European standards deliverables, and please keep in mind that here we are talking about those standards supporting policies and regulations in Europe, which in the case of CEN and CENELEC is around 14%, 1/4 of the standards that we deliver. For all the rest, there will be no change. But for those specific standards for which the national standards bodies and national committees that are members of the European Union have got an obligation to contribute to the European single market and there are legal requirements, those decisions must be taken exclusively by the representatives of the national standardization bodies. Of course, the representatives of the national standardization bodies represent all stakeholders in the different countries. So I think there have been some misunderstandings about who are the ones that are taking those decisions. But as you know, in CEN and CENELEC, there are the national delegation principle, which is extremely important, and the national members actually make sure that all relevant interested parties contribute to the national position and casting the vote that is brought to the European dimension. So these decisions will be taken by the national standardization bodies in the case of CEN and national committees in the case of CENELEC for those standards that are actually in the frame of Regulation 1025 that are the harmonized standards or standards supporting policies and regulations. And here you have got the three decisions makings that need to be saved through this new process. So the acceptance or refusal of the standardization request, as you may know, in CEN and CENELEC, this is done through the technical board representatives. And this is extremely important because in the CEN and CENELEC, the technical boards are composed by one member, one meeting member, or one permanent delegate per country. So we follow absolutely the rule of the national delegation principle. The decisions on the acceptance of new work items that are needed for the standardization request, and in the context of the EC-ESO task force, we have been working very much on which new work items are going to be offered in the work program for a standardization request. So this is going to be also saved using this bottom-up, top-down cooperation, and for sure in the adoption, revision, and withdrawal of European standards for European deliverables. So these are the three decisions that will be subject to the amendment to the regulation, and for which CEN and CENELEC have been working very thoroughly in order to make sure that the rules are clear and that we are in line with the regulation. And without more ado, I will give the floor to our leader in this important file. And for me, a very big thank you, because I know Annika has been devoting a lot of her time in order to make this happen and to make this timely, which, as I said, it was very important. So Annika, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you for giving us a very good update about what's changed in the regulations. So I think we can move on to the next slide. Thank you. I'm the Vice President Technical for CEN, but I'm sharing responsibility with the CENELEC Vice President Technical, Frederick Valiant. And I then have the responsibility for the CEN CENELEC BT 14, which handles rules and processes. So that's the working group for BT that develops the proposals for BT for recommendation then to our General Assembly to take decisions on the internal regulations. So I just want to state that we have been working in the working group since actually last summer. We started when we got the new regulations. We started to look into how can we meet these new requirements and how can we adopt the internal regulations to actually then implement them from July 9 when we need to work according to the new regulation. What was very important for us was to have an active and involvement from all types of members. So we have been working with both blue, yellow, and red type members very actively to actually make sure that everyone feels that they are included in the process, even though that the blue type member will have an exclusive decision right when needed, I must say. As I said, involvement of all NSB and NCs in, or what then has been our target to actually in this? It's to implement the new provisions, and also then have the involvement of all NSBs and national committees of all type of members in the development and decision process of standards. That's very important going forward. But as I said, a final decision by blue type members. We can take the next slide. So what is then the solution for these new regulations that we need to meet? We introduce systematic double counting of votes. And with that, we will always display, when counting votes, the outcome of the voting of all members. But we will also see the outcome of the voting of blue type members. And if there is a discrepancy between these two, the final decision will be taken by the blue type members after discussions in the relevant technical boards. By saying this, I really would like to convey that when we have looked in the past of the history, we haven't seen that we have this kind of discrepancy that we actually need to use the rule, but the rule is there if we have that in the future. So we feel confident that we usually are very much aligned in our decision. So this solution is then reflected in the revised edition of Internal Regulation 2, dated for 2023. And then, as I said, it was decided for recommendation in the technical board during the spring, and then recommended then for AG, which took the decision during the spring. So we are ready to implement this now in July 9. We have some additional BT decisions to make this work that I would like to also present for you, and that's the next slide. As I said, when there is a discrepancy, we have made clarifications what to do, how to handle that in our BT way of working. We have also addressed the role of the technical boards to initiate European homegrown activity in case of those international standards which are included in the standardizations request are expected to be developed together with ISO and IC and are not initiated by ISO and IC. So that has been a discussion, and we have a way of working around that. What is also important is then that the IT tools that we have actually can manage and handle these new rules. So that is something we have been then developed a solution for, and the IT department at CCMC has then implemented that in the solution. So we, from July 9, will have the rules implemented in the IT tools that we use. This is, of course, important that we can meet up the IT development that is needed when we get these new dates of where we need to follow new rules. So that has been a very, I know that has been hard for CCMC because there's a lot of things to do. So I just would like to say with this, thank you to the whole CCMC team for the big work that has been done in making this possible, both regarding the internal regulations and the implementations in the IT tools. So by this, I will hand over to Alberto Simeone, who will give us a more in-depth explanation of what has been changed in the internal regulation too. Please, Alberto.
Thank you, Annika, and thank you, Elena. And so now we go with a deep dive and possibly without droning, and to see what are the measures that CEN and CENELEC implemented in order to respond to Regulation 2480. I will switch off the camera in order to avoid any connection problem. So good morning, everyone. So just to recap, we have a new regulation 2480 that was published in December 2022, establishing that decisions concerning subjects around standardization request and mandated work will have to be taken by the NSB, national committees of the EEA countries, so the European Economic Area, which translate for us means that those decisions concerning the standard request and mandated work will have to be taken by the blue type members, which is the term that has been defined in CEN-CENELEC in the Internal Regulation Part 1. So in addition to the challenges that Annika mentioned in her intervention, we have also CEN-CENELEC BT 14 and the CEN-CENELEC technical boards as ultimately responsible for taking the decision. There were also very operational challenges, because for those subjects that were mentioned in that key article of Regulation 2480, we have in CEN and CENELEC different decision-making bodies for those subjects. Then we have different decision-making bodies for the same subjects, if compared with CEN, CEN-CENELEC, and the CEN-CENELEC JTC. For instance, we can consider the creation of a new work item. In CEN is a delegated decision to the TC, so the decision-making body are the TC via members, while in CENELEC are the CENELEC BT, and same goes for the new work items of CEN-CENELEC joint technical committees, where the CEN and CENELEC technical boards are the responsible bodies. But then we have also different way of voting for the different subjects. We have the simple majority weighted vote, and then we have the CEN-CENELEC BT consultation that follows different rules. And also different way of voting between CEN and CENELEC on the same subjects. So the challenge in BT Work Group 14 and for CEN technical boards was to establish precise rules covering all possible scenarios. Now we look at the subjects that are covered in Regulation 2480, and we see who has the responsibility for those subjects. So decisions, the acceptance or refusal of standard request, it's under the BT's responsibility. The decisions and the acceptance of new work items that are needed for the fulfillment of the standard request is for semi-work items are the members, and in the technical committees, CENELEC BT for CENELEC new work items, and CEN and CENELEC BTs for the CEN-CENELEC new work items. And please note that the BTs have not changed the decision-making bodies responsible for these subjects. So are the same bodies, but of course the approval criteria have been changed, and further I will explain. Then for the adoption of European standards deliverables, the decision is taken by members. The revision of European standards deliverables is connected basically with the creation of new work items. The withdrawal of European standards and European deliverables, when not replaced by new edition or other deliverable, is a BT decision. And then even if not explicitly mentioned in Regulation 2480, by extension of the principle that has been established in this new regulation, also any update after formal vote to the annexes set for CEN and CENELEC will fall under the new approval criteria that has been defined, and currently the end responsibility for this is for CEN and CENELEC BTs, and the same goes when it is removed the links to the legislation for some deliverables, and these again fall under responsibility and CEN BT. So all these subjects are impacted by the new regulation, and for all these subjects, we apply the new approval criteria as defined in the new IR2. So now we can, just to be sure that you follow the discussions, we have prepared some questions that you can answer during this webinar in real time. So I ask Els, thank you. So question 1, on the blue tab members. Who are the blue tab members in CEN and CENELEC membership? It is the new term for the NSBNCs of the EEA countries, or with the blue tab members we intend the Nordic countries, or only UK and Switzerland? Please, you can reply in real time. Else, do you want to give help and support on how to respond to this poll?
Yes, I can if you want to, but I think it's quite obvious, so people can just, while it's running, submit their choice. I think you can also see in real time the results coming in, Alberto. Yes, so most of the people voted for answer 1. Nobody voted for answer 2 on the Nordic countries, and a few people think that it's about the UK and Switzerland. So for the moment, 63% of the attendees reply to the poll. So if it's okay for you, I can end the poll and also share the results with everybody.
Yes, thanks. So the correct answer is answer A. So with the blue tab members for CEN-CENELEC membership, we mean the national standard bodies and the national committees of the countries of the European Economic Area, which means the 27 countries of the European Union plus our members from Iceland and Norway. UK, Switzerland, Turkey, North Macedonia, and Serbia are part of the non-blue tab members. The blue tab members are split in 2. The yellow type, only UK is the yellow type, while the red type are the other 4 that I just mentioned. Okay, we can close the poll.
Yes, it's closed already.
Okay, thank you. So let's continue. So the main modifications in IR2 are 3 main modifications. So a definition of standard request and mandated work was added. And please pay attention that when we refer to mandated work or mandated work items or mandated new work items, we mean technical work requested under a standard request or a mandate. So you know that since the new regulation 1025 from 2012, we don't refer anymore to the mandate. Well, the Commission do not use anymore the term mandate, but they refer to the standard request as in Article 10 of 1025, and which is a Commission implementing decision, and therefore with mandated work we still refer to both. So if you're working on a work item, a new work item that will be offered under an old, still valid mandate, please consider it as part of the mandated work. Therefore, it is impacted by the new approval criteria in international regulation, internal regulation part 2. Then the main changes concern clause 6. Clause 6 is the voting policy, and it's exactly the focus of this webinar. And then also in Annex D, the information about the weight of the country of the NSBs and Cs has been changed, and in order to add what kind of membership type this country has. So what I said before, UK, for instance, is a yellow type member. Now it's easily retrievable in the Annex D. The same, you can see who are the 29 blue type members. So main changes in IR2 clause 6. So in the current edition of IR2 that will be valid until July, clause 6 cover all cases for non-mandated and mandated work. In the new edition, clause 6, the voting policy is split in two. There will be 6.2 will cover non-mandated work for which approval criteria do not change. Clause 6.4 will cover mandated work for which the approval criteria will change. Question number 2. Paul. Else launch the poll. So mandated work or mandated work items refer to work items were intended to be submitted to the HS consultant. Sorry, I don't know if maybe questions are too long. I don't know if anyone can see in full, because I cannot see in full the first question. Okay, I need to click on it. So I need to put my cursor on it. Work items which are intended to be submitted to the HS assessment, or work items which are recovered by a mandate, or work items which are either requested in a statutory request or developed under a mandate. Okay, I think we have already a good indication of the replies. So the correct answer is a C. With mandated work, we mean any work item, any new work item that are requested under a standard request or developed under a mandate. So it's not B, because B refers only to mandate, while from 2012 we have standard request. A is not correct because it refers to those standards that are requested under a standard request or a mandate, but that are intended to be submitted to the HS assessment. And this is a subgroup of the possible field of applicability of the new regulation 2480. So the correct answer is the last one, because also work items requested in a standard request which are not intended to undergo the HS assessment are impacted by our mandated work and therefore impacted by the new clause 6.4 of internal regulation. Okay, I hope now it is clear for those that reply A, B, and C. So it is crucial, and it's something for which TBOs are requested to pay attention. Since the clause 6 of internal regulation part 2 is split into approval criteria for non-mandated work and approval criteria for mandated work, it is crucial that the information that we have in the database are correct, which means a specific work item or work item, if requested under a standard request or covered by a mandate, should be correctly identified as such in our database. If you discover at any time, but as soon as possible, that it is not the case, please inform CCMC and we will correct the database. You know that you received a few days ago a message from CEN and CENELEC that a new version of Projects Online is now available. These improvements concern exactly the information on legislation. As you can see here in the screen, even a recording is now available on YouTube, so please check the video and all the information, and we hope that also the information are easily available and understandable. So now, what are the changes that have been introduced also for non-mandated work? So I said approval criteria, new clause 6.4 applies only to mandated work, but there are few changes also for non-mandated work and they basically concern how some information will appear in the voting result. So the first change is that in the voting result for mandated and non-mandated, there will be any reference to the EEA countries. We just said that in Internal Regulation Part 1, this is a snip of that relevant clause. These members are called blue tab members. So you will have a reference to the blue tab members and non-blue tab members, where the non-blue tab members, as you can see, are the red type and yellow type. Then also for non-mandated work, the outcomes of the voting of blue tab members will be always displayed together with the outcomes of the voting with all members. This is a novelty because for non-mandated work, the outcomes of the voting of the EEA members, now blue tab members, were displayed only if when voting via weighted vote, the first voting with all members failed. Now they will be always displayed. Why? The reason is connected to what I explained regarding the correct information in the database. Imagine that a work item that is supposed to go to inquiry was not correctly marked as mandated work. Therefore, the inquiry voting has been, so the approval criteria for the inquiry voting has been applied those for non-mandated work. But then it appears that that work item actually is supposed to be under a mandate or a standard request, and therefore the correction is in our database, but the voting has already taken place. So it is important, by having always displayed also the result of the blue tab members, it is possible to find back the information on what the blue tab members voted, and therefore then apply the approval criteria of for mandated work. This will be explained in a disclaimer that will appear on non-mandated work. So the reason why the blue tab members result is always displayed. This is an example. Of course, this is for CEN, and this is the way it will appear for CENELEC. The third change that will impact both mandated and not mandated work is that the wording for the approval, disapproval of deliverables will be approved by national members, disapproved by national members, approved by blue tab members for non-mandated, while the cases for mandated work will be more, and so will be approved by national members, disapproved by national members, approved by blue tab members, pending, approved by BT decision, disapproved by BT decision. So the pending, approved by decision, disapproved by decision are typical for mandated work, are the main novelties in the approval criteria for mandated work, and in the next slides, I will show you exactly what are the basics for these new outcomes. Okay, question 3. On the approval criteria. The approval criteria have changed. Yes, but only for mandated work. Yes, for both mandated and non-mandated. No, approval criteria are identical as before. Okay, we have more than 100 replies. I think it was important to ask you this question, because I see that in this case, while before 95% of the participants spotted the right answer, here I see that less than 50% of participants spotted the right answer. So the right answer is A. What I just explained in the slide before. So this slide is that the three changes that apply to mandated and non-mandated do not concern approval criteria. It is just in the template. You will not see anymore any reference to EA countries, but blue type members or non-blue type. That the outcome, so the double counting will always be displayed for mandated and non-mandated work. It's displayed, but the approval criteria do not change for non-mandated. And then in the last case, only new terms will be used for non-mandated work when the outcomes of the voting will be available. So the current answer is A. And now a counter question to see if now maybe this is more clear. So we can go to question number 4. Exactly. So for non-mandated work, which means I would say the 80% of the standards we develop that are not linked to any standard request or mandate, all remains unchanged for non-mandated work. Yes, same approval criteria and same template of voting. No, same approval criteria, but as before, but different template where the double counting is always displayed. So if you say yes, you mean that for non-mandated work, so work that is not linked to any standard request or mandate, there will be the same approval criteria and the same template of voting, so the template is identical. No, if you mean that the approval criteria are the same, but there are some changes in the template. Okay, so the correct answer is B. So 87% of you have replied correctly. For non-mandated work, we have the same approval criteria, but there are some differences if compared with the template of the voting result, differences that concern the fact that you will always find the results of the double counting, that there will be any reference to the EA countries, but to blue type members, and that also the way the approval and disapproval are identified is slightly different. But it is important to know that there are the same approval criteria. Good. So now we go in depth on these approval criteria. So now we go to approval criteria, and to do that, I want to split those approval criteria for those subjects that are under the responsibility of the members from those subjects that are under the responsibility of BT. I see that 167 people are connected. So I guess that most of you are technical body officers, so you are impacted by the subjects under members' responsibility. Members' responsibility that are split in two: approval of mandated deliverables. I hope that now if I refer to mandated deliverables, so you are with me and you all understand that I refer to deliverables requested under a standard request or drafted in support of a mandate, so old mandate, valid mandate. And the other subgroup is the approval of mandated new work items. And this will concern CEN only. Why? Because today, only in CEN, it is a member's responsibility to approve the new work items. It's a delegated decision from CEN BT to the TC. For the CENELEC community, be aware that the decision to go for a delegated decision from CENELEC BT to members has been already approved in principles by CENELEC BT and should be hopefully operational in Q4 2023. At the moment, in any case, we can apply what I am showing you only for CEN and new work items. Okay, so we start with the approval of mandated deliverables. What are the approval criteria? So we have 4 scenarios, and I hope that you bear with me in this table. Scenario 1, I hope all of you, it is important to underline that now we cover the approval of mandated EN, TS, and for CENELEC, the HD, harmonized documents. Why these 3 products are put together, why we have this table for these products, because these 3 deliverables are approved via weighted vote. And the new approval criteria will be under the new paragraph 6.4, in particular 6.4.4, because 6.4.4 it will be the weighted vote for mandated work. So scenario 1 does nothing changes. Today, if all members vote agreed on a standard, the standard is approved. If now the blue tab, so the counting will, the double counting will always appear. So if also the blue type agree with the standard, then it is approved. Nothing else is needed. Scenario 2, all members in the first counting do not approve the deliverable, but blue type approve it, then it is approved. And also, this scenario is not new. If you go in the current internal regulation, it reads that if the first counting with all members failed, the second counting with the EA countries apply, therefore the blue time members. And if the blue time members approve, then the outcome is approved. So scenario 1 and scenario 2 should not cause any problem. Then we cover the last column at the end. Then scenario 3 is the novelty. So currently, if all members vote positively, so they say yes, we approve the EN or TS or the HD, there is no second counting. With the new IR2, following the regulation 2480, we need to have this second counting. If blue time members say no, then the outcome is pending. So this is the novelty. Therefore, when in the voting result, you will find, following inquiry or formal vote, you will find pending as a result, you need to pay attention because there is something to do there. The technical board, following the recommendation of BT Working Group 14, agreed that the TC should meet as soon as possible in order to look at the matter. So why blue type say no, and should propose a way forward, a recommendation, or at least an explanation to the BT, because this scenario provides that the item is escalated to BT, of course, CEN BT, or CENELEC BT, or CEN-CENELEC BT if we are talking of a CEN-CENELEC, my work item from a CEN-CENELEC GTC, BT will have to take a decision. So why there is it escalates to BT? First of all, this goes to BT because BT wants to have an understanding of the possible reason why blue type voted differently from all members. And then, because in BT, the final decision is taken by the blue type members via weighted vote in order to comply with Regulation 2480. What will happen in any case in practice in BT is that the BT members of blue type and non blue type members will try to find a consensus on the way forward and take possibly a BT decision by consensus and go to blue type members' final decision only if needed. Then scenario 4 is all members do not approve, but also blue type members do not approve. Therefore, it is disapproved. So this will be the approval criteria for mandated deliverables when voting via weighted vote. So EN, TS, and CENELEC HD. Let's focus now on the last column, which applies only to EN HD, is the obligation to implement at the national level the EN or the HD for CENELEC. Of course, in scenario 1, all CEN and CENELEC members will have to implement the EN or HD. Scenario 2, as it is already today, so there is nothing new. If the decision, if the approval comes from the agreement of the blue type members only, therefore only the blue type members are obliged to implement the national vet standard, plus those yellow and red type who voted positive. Those yellow red type that voted negatively, and that's why we have a no under all, they are not obliged to implement nationally the EN. And then we go on scenario 3 after, so it's pending because there is a discrepancy between the two votes, and then there is the resolution meeting. If there is a consensus, so there is one BT decision, all members will have to implement the decision if the decision is to approve the N, which means basically that the blue type members change their mind, and therefore they vote yes, and therefore there is a standard. Or if the blue type members kept, so if the voting, the end of the voting is with the blue type members say no, therefore there is no EN. So following the criteria, the requirements of the new regulation 2480, the blue type members say no, and there will be no EN approved. This is an example. So for CENELEC, so this is the CENELEC new template for the voting results. This is the example of formal vote for a peer ENIC. You see, this is the disclaimer. Here you will notice below the outcome is pending. So for you, for the TC secretaries, you don't have to interpret the voting result. You just get a final voting. You can see that it's pending because all countries, the voting with all countries say yes, and with the EA countries say no. I think we used a fake template for this example because still at IC it is not ready. We will have blue type members, as I said before, blue type members and not EA countries here. Of course, you have to imagine that currently we have requested ISO and IC, which are the tools, IT tools providers for voting for CENELEC, on the CENELEC e-voting, and ISO for the CEN e-ballot portal to update to change all these approval criteria, and they are on the good track. They will certainly be able to deliver before 9 July, which is the expected date where we will apply the new provisions, but still we are not there. So we have, in a way, built these examples. So now we go to CEN. So this will be the outcome for CEN. It is an example, in this case, of a formal vote. And you will see that since all members approve the standard weighted vote, but the blue type members do not approve the standard, then it goes pending. So for both CEN and CENELEC, TCs, the technical committees, so TC secretaries are expected to, by any means, either consultation with the TC chair or working group conveners or the members of the TC, try to understand where the discrepancies between these two voting comes from, in order then for BT to take a decision. And what you can see here now is how CCMC, after receiving the BT decision on that item that escalated to BT because it was pending, how CCMC production will register the outcome. So the final outcome will be approved by BT decision. And this will appear on the CEN voting result. I should mention that for CENELEC, after pending and after CENELEC BT will have taken a decision, you will not receive a new voting result form, but the final CENELEC BT decision will be registered directly in our database from CCMC production and will appear in projects online. This is exactly the way forward I explain following a pending, which is really when you see the result pending, a bell should ring because an action is expected. So suggestion for technical body officer, be prepared for this scenario. For instance, plan a meeting call or other forms of interaction to come to an agreement for a recommendation to BT. Why BT has been very strict, why the sensitivities have been very strict with his advice from the technical committee to BT after a pending, because for mandated work, you know that we have tight deadlines on the standardization request. So we need to deliver that standards to the Commission according to the deadlines. So it is important not to lose time after a pending vote. Something is important. So it's really a forethought. If this scenario 3 pending happens for EN and HD when voting at inquiry, so not at formal vote, so still at inquiry stage, then TBs are recommended not to skip formal vote and discuss the matter together with all other inquiry comments at the planned TB meeting. In this case, there is no need to escalate to BT and the outcomes of the formal vote can be awaited. In any case, when we made some statistics some years ago on how our blue type members and non-blue type members vote, we realized that this scenario 3, where all members say yes and only blue type members say no, is very exceptional. I mean, may happen, that's why it is foreseen, and we need to foresee a way forward that complies with the new regulation 2480, but is very exceptional. Then we go, so we are still in mandated work, and now we cover the third kind of deliverable, so which are the technical report. it's a different slide because technical reports are approved by simple majority. So does not fall in the previous case of weighted vote, but it's simple majority. The double counting applies, but here we can have depending in two different scenarios. Why? So it's a scenario 2 and 3. So scenario 1 is the counting with all members is positive, the counting with blue type is positive, then it's approved. Scenario 2, all members say no, blue type say yes, it's pending. I want to draw your attention that today, when non-voting via weighted vote, there is no provision on year 2 on what to do when the result with all members is negative. So the clause that if the standard is not approved with the vote of all members, and then we go to the second count, currently in the current year 2, a second count is foreseen for the blue type, but not when voting by simple majority. So basically scenario 2 and 3 represent a novelty not covered in interregulation part 2, and that's why the outcome is pending, and therefore the technical bodies are invited to follow the same procedure as explained. I want clearly to say that there are very few technical reports that are requested in standardization request or mandates. Sorry, here there is a typo. So really, normally we receive the request from the European Commission to develop either EN or TS or HD for CENELEC, but the request to develop CEN-TR, CEN-TS is very, very exceptional. So we expect this case to happen very rarely. And now we go still on decisions under the responsibility of members, so not BT, members on the approval of mandated new work items. As I said, this applied for CEN only, but for CENELEC something is moved. So now the CEN PC secretaries need to pay attention to this procedure. The CIB now contains a new field, is the field standardization request mandate. And this field has to be manually completed by the TC secretaries. So this information does not come directly from projects online, from the database, but must be filled in manually from CEN TC secretaries. So be careful, check well projects online if that new work item is supposed to be a mandated one. Therefore, add the number of the mandate there. Select also the method of voting, and of course, it's weighted majority if it is a new work item for an EN or for a TS, or the revision of a EN modifying the scope of the previous EN. Otherwise, you go for simple majority, for simple majority. So in case it is a TR, and in case it is a revision or not modifying the scope or an amendment. It is very important to, therefore, to fill in correctly the field standard request or mandate. If this field is not empty, the algorithm that is going to calculate the voting results goes with approval criteria of 6-4. So the approval criteria for mandated work. And this is the voting result. So this slide is how it looks like when you need to create the ballots on the CIB. And this slide is what happens 2 months later. And it's the case where basically there is a discrepancy between the voting of all members, while the blue time members disapproved. You see, it's 50%. This number should have been 55. Therefore, blue time members do not approve, and therefore it's pending. Also, in this case, to go ahead, the TC need to go for a recommendation to BT. So this escalates to BT. And after BT, in this case, it's CEN-BT takes a decision, then the decision will result in the modified result of voting and will be approved by the decision, or of course disapproved by the decision. In case it's disapproved, of course, the technical committee is invited to prepare a new work item. So this is the scenario that I just explained. So when you create a new work item and it's weighted vote, the only pending case is scenario 3, when all members vote yes and blue type vote no. The way forward is as I explained. Also, in this case, experience showed that this scenario 3 should appear very rarely. And now, if we go to the creation of new work item for CEN via simple majority, which means when you approve a mandate, a new work item to be a TR or an amendment or revision of EN not modifying the scope, then the pending scenario may happen twice. So when the voting with all members is no, is disapproved, is not approved, with blue type is yes, then there is a discrepancy. And also when the voting with all members is yes and the blue type no. As I said, especially for TR, we should have very, very few cases. Okay, now we go with a specific question for you, and to see if what I explained is clear enough. So these secretaries will have to calculate the voting result for mandated work. True, it will be a very complicated task requiring a lot of attention. False, the voting result will be provided by the tool. Okay, we are reaching 100. Well, I think we can close the poll else. And yeah, I'm happy to see that 97% went for the right answer. So the outcome of the voting will be always provided in the voting result. So the TC secretaries do not have to interpret the vote. You will have a clear outcome, approved by national members, disapproved by national members, or it will be pending. Then, of course, when you see it's pending, then there are some actions expected from your side. Okay, good. I would say that this aspect was clear, and I hope that you as TBOs are reassured that you don't need to interpret the new approval criteria. But then connect to it. Let's go to these other questions. So the fact that a new work item or a work item is incorrectly marked in projects online has no consequences. True, it can be corrected anytime. False, the approval criteria depend on how it is identified in projects online. Okay, we are reaching 100. Replies. Okay, I see that, okay, in this case, maybe the explanation were not enough clear. So 77% went for the right answer, while 23% went for the not correct answer. It is important that the information on the database that you can check on projects online, whether that new work item or work item is mandated or not mandated, is crucial. Because if the work item is not mandated, so it is not linked to any standard request or mandate, then it will, the result of the voting will be done with the approval criteria of clause 6.2, the new clause 6.2. Instead, if that work item, new work item, is marked as mandated work, the voting result will be calculated according to the approval criteria of 6.4, mandated work. So the pending may apply. So maybe you were misled by the first answer, it can be corrected anytime. Which is true. Of course, the sooner the better. But imagine that the inquiry, the voting that is associated to inquiry has already taken place. The result of that voting has been calculated as that work item was not mandated, while it was mandated. So the algorithm should have been different. So unfortunately, there are consequences if the work item is not correctly marked in projects online. And in the example I just gave, the technical body will have to go back and retrieve the voting result for that work item that was voted as non-mandated and understand what was the voting of the blue 10 members only. So the correct answer is B. Of course, you can notify an error to CCMC at any time, but if the voting has already taken place, there will be consequences. So check the correct information at the early stage of the development of that work item, if possible, at a new work item stage. Right, I think we can go ahead. Okay, now the TBOs can take a pause because I will go in the for those cases, for those subjects that are under the responsibility of the technical boards. I will go faster on that. Of course, the technical boards have work in order to approve all the possible scenarios with these new approval criteria. So, what are the subjects under BT responsibility? Also, in this case, we need to make a difference. Those decisions taken by CEN and or CENELEC BT via weighted vote that are in this slide, or those responsibilities or those subjects, sorry, for which CEN and or CENELEC BT take decision via regular BT consultation. For the weighted vote, we have three specific scenarios that are connected to the subjects in Regulation 2480. Of course, is the approval of the standardization request, which is a CEN-CENELEC or CEN-CENELEC decision via weighted vote, and then only in CEN, only CEN BT takes a decision via weighted vote when approving the new Annex Z as ZA after formal vote, or the removal of links to legislation. CENELEC BT votes on this element via regular BT consultation. So it's not a weighted vote in CENELEC. That's why it is not included in this slide. And so for you to know that the scenario that may happen are as before for weighted vote 4. So the CENELEC BT, all CENELEC BT members and the blue type members of CEN and CENELEC BT voted positively, then we have a BT decision, it's approved. If all BT members voted against, but the blue type members voted positively to approve a standard request, then the outcome is approved. When all BT members, when the voting with all BT members approved the standard request, and the blue type do not, then it's pending and a BT decision is needed. And then there are the scenario 4, which is obvious. If no one is approved that subject, then it is not approved. And now we go to the list of those subjects under BT responsibility, but that are the decision of which is taken by regular BT consultation. Now, for those that are not familiar with the regular BT consultation, it is de facto for in CENELEC BT, one single disagreement does not triggers the non-approval of the subject. In CEN BT is like a simple majority, but any BT member can defer the decision. So it's a kind of veto power to block the decision. So that's why the BT consultation is a quite a different procedure from the others. For these subjects, so these are the approval of new work items of CEN-CENELEC Joint Technical Committee. So when a JTC, when there's the approval of new work item from a JTC, we have a CEN and CENELEC BT vote. And here I don't want to waste the time of TPOs to explain how complex this can be, because we can have the scenario where the CEN BT does not approve it, while the CENELEC BT approve it. Then in a case, this common decision fails. Or now for those new work items that are under standard request or mandate, so the mandated new work item from a GTC, we can have a double scenario where all members of CEN BT, so the voting without members, the simple majority, approve that new work item, but the majority with the blue type members wouldn't. So in this case, there is the BT decision is not approved in CEN, and the CEN-CENELEC common decision is not approved. We need to escalate. Again, we need to have another specific meeting, an ad hoc meeting of BT. Then also the decision to withdraw CEN and/or CENELEC deliverable when not replaced by a new edition or by a standard is a CEN BT decision for CEN deliverable, CENELEC BT decision for CENELEC deliverable, a CEN-CENELEC BT decision for CEN for joint for deliverable from JTC. And then the approval of new work items for CENELEC is CENELEC decision, and the same goes with the approval of the annexes after the standard has been voted upon, or the removal of links to legislation. So I don't want to put all the possible scenarios for these subjects. These are very specific for BT. I think for TBOs, you don't need to go for this level of detail. All the approval criteria will be in internal regulation part 2 that will be soon published on our website. And so you will find all these new approval criteria in the section, new section 6.4 for mandated work. Then we will have also, we had to also modify the voting calculator. We will share them with you, but they are mostly used by my team, by the team of the CEN-CENELEC technical boards that will have to calculate the results of all these voting. And so now we come almost to the end of the meeting. I hope that the presentation was clear. This is a recorded meeting, therefore you will have the chance to come back on it. So to recap, mandated work means that new work item or work item the new work item or work item is requested under a standard request or covered by a valid mandate. Please check it before starting your work. So be sure that the new work item or work item is covered or not by a standard request or a mandate. And it's crucial to ensure that mandated new work items or work items are correctly marked as such in the database. If not, inform CCMC, because if they're not in the database, when the voting procedure are launched, there will be a problem because the wrong approval criteria will be applied by the tool, and therefore you will have a result which is not correct. For decisions launched as of 9 July 2023, the new approval criteria for mandated work apply and may affect the approval of deliverables. TC may need to provide advice in 2 weeks to BT if outcome is pending. So be careful when the outcome of the voting result is pending, something is expected from TBO. No, do not worry. There is no need to repeat the voting. The voting result will be in line with the relevant clause of IR2. So for mandated work, the approval criteria have not changed, and you will have a voting result in line with the new clause 6.2. For mandated work, the approval criteria have changed, and the voting result will give you a result in line with the new clause 6.4 of Internal Regulation Part 2. As we said before, as we saw also in questions, nothing changes in the voting result for non-mandated work, but counting of blue time members' votes will be always displayed. So don't get confused. You will always notice the counting of the blue time members. The result will be always displayed. The reason was explained. Because in case of error in the database, we should be able to go back to the result of the blue time members. But if that work was correctly identified as non-mandated, nothing will happen to the approval criteria that will be in line as today. A second webinar will take place on 30th of June. And for that webinar, we hope to be able to show you some demo of the IT tools that should be ready. I cannot guarantee that will be ready by 30th of June. They will be surely in place by the as of 9 July, but hopefully on 30th of June we will be able to see how the demo goes. Else, I think we are at the end of the meeting.
Yes, it seems so. We have one last poll for the attendees, which is more a feedback poll. So we would like to ask you to rate this webinar, first of all. There's some other questions on the fact if you would recommend the webinar to colleagues that are involved in the topic. And if it's not the case, why not? So that we can at least improve it. So if the attendees would like to take a few more minutes of their time to reply this poll, that would be wonderful. I also would like to repeat that we intend to make the presentation available, so all the attendees will receive it in their inbox later today, together with the recording. So the complete webinar has been recorded and we will share it with you later.
Else, I think it's 11:37, so I think we have still some minutes, and I see that there are 7 questions. Is it correct? Oh, you have more questions?
Yes. No, I see 7 questions too, and I noticed that some of them are similar. So yes, if we still have time,
So
please feel free.
Yeah, maybe I can try to answer.
Okay.
If I'm not able, of course, you will receive then an answer in writing. So the first answer I see is at 11:07 from Julia Stickelman. What is the reasoning behind formulation the new template as blue type countries instead of EA countries? Because when formulating as EA countries, the meaning is in the name, which makes it explicit. Okay, so the formulation, so we need to be very clear. Is the formulation in the template is not blue type countries, is blue type members. So we will call NSB, NCs from EA countries, blue type members. The current formulation is members of EA countries, so it doesn't change that much. It's just that we have aligned this term with the term in Internal Regulation Part 1, which is the official term for the membership of CEN and CENELEC, that is blue type members, not countries, be careful. Okay, David Wilkinson, question 11 and 9. Slide 33, scenario 3. If yellow type member votes, are they required to implement the CEN HD if the BT consensus is achieved? The wording suggests all members are obliged to implement. Okay, let's go to slide 33, scenario 3. So all of us can have a look. So the question is about the implementation of, so scenario 3 is when all members, so the voting with all members was positive. So the voting with all members was positive. So all members in theory were supposed to then implement the standard because they approved. While the voting with the blue type members only was not positive. So blue type did not approve. Then the result is pending. And therefore, if the decision is by consensus of the BT, everyone has to implement the standard, indeed, because the decision by consensus for the approval of EN can be, yes, BT agrees that EN is approved, or BT does not agree with approval of the EN. Of course, in the second case, there is no EN resulting, so there is no EN approved, and therefore in the second case, no one will implement the EN. In the first case, indeed, all members are bound to implement it. I hope I answered to the question. Okay, then we have Angela Rosenkrantz-Wüttig. 2 weeks for this discussion is very short. Yes, it is very short. It's It is one of these provisions that may cause some difficulties to the TCs. Here, the recommendation is for the technical committees. At the time, the voting of that EN or TS that is mandated, so the time that voting is launched, plan already a possible TC meeting. So think proactively, so that after 3 months, if we are at inquiry, or after 2 months of voting, when we are a formal vote, the TC is prepared and can meet. Tanya Enschke, is the discussion the TC supposed to be a full TC meeting? No, it's not supposed to. The PT does not go in that level of details. What I show in the slide, it's exactly the wording that is in the BT decision. Then Judith Galuba, what happened when the mandated work item is approved, scenario 1, and okay, so now we are for the new work item, so creation of a new work item which is mandated and then is approved, and 4 blue time members plus 1 yellow time member participate actively. Is this enough to be an approved work item? Yes, indeed, it is enough. Be even 3 or 2 blue type and 3 non-blue type, and therefore it is approved. So is all work on a mandated EN standards to green members? Is all works on a mandated EN standards to green members limited mandated work, or does it only regard to the part about relationship between these European and the budget is? No, I don't understand this question, not even green members. Maybe, Roger, if you can send us a question also offline, we can answer. The thick box for harmonized standard is not in the new legislation tab in provisional law. How do I know if a standard is harmonized? Okay, so this is if you had a chance to see the new projects online release that was released a few days ago, there is a YouTube presentation. Also in my presentation, you can find the link to this recording, and I hope record training is available. If you click here, you can see the details of the new feature of Projects Online. Of course, if there are difficulties with Projects Online, contact our services. So Enrico Maria Fumagalli, in case of scenario 2, it seems very strange to me to have an European standard approved but not implemented by all countries members of CENELEC. It makes no sense to me, because in this way the standard would not be a real harmonized standard. I can understand your comments, and I have to, in any case, remind that in the current version of IR 2, so when I say current, means the version that is currently valid until 8th of July. So in the current version of IR 2, this provision is already there. If you go in clause 6.2 of the current IR 2, you can read that who are those members that are bound to implement an EN. So I understand your comment. Is in any case a rule in place already from years. Is information on all mandated work items for each CEN-TC available at CCMC? If so, can a list be sent to all TB secretaries, because there are cases where secretaries role has changes many times. recent years, and information mandate works and was kept up to date. Julia, frankly speaking, yes, of course, you can ask support to the CCM CPM, but the improvement in projects online, as you can see here in the slide, has been done exactly to provide you with a full set of information. I'm not sure that our CCM CPM is able to give you other information than those in projects online. And if it is the case, then projects online should be always kept updated accordingly. Francois Rummets, Blue members is EA members minus Liechtenstein. Well, unfortunately, we don't have an SMB&C from Liechtenstein, therefore they are not. Liechtenstein is not included in the blue type members. Okay, okay. The question from I think Roger Marti refers to his previous question. I prefer to look at that question and answer after this meeting. Okay, yes. Then I think we are done. It's
Yes.
11:58. Do you have some final recommendation for the audience?
No, not really. Just to remind them that we have closed down the poll, by the way. So thank you very much to everybody who replied. Your feedback is very useful for us. And then I just want to remind the audience that we have some upcoming webinars as well that they can join if they would like to. So the hyperlinks are over there that you can then access if you receive the email with the presentation. So that's it.
Okay, very good. Thanks a lot. Thanks all of you for your active participation in the polls. And this recording will be available, of course, and also the new IR2 Internal Regulation Part 2 will be available. So check well, please. The news clause 6.2 and 6.4 in particular for mandated work. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.